Speak Woman Magazine and Marketing is a digital publication and marketing company with a mission to spotlight women. We also provide advertising and marketing assistance as well as a platform to promote your growing brand. Visit us at speakwomanmagazine.com.
Are you craving something sweet to satisfy your taste buds and make your heart sing? Look no further than Sweet Rain Desserts. All of your custom sweet treats for any occasion. Visit sweetraindesserts.com and create your sweet treat today. Are you ready to connect with a global audience? Advertise with Speak Woman Magazine and Marketing. Our team helps build brand awareness, drive sales, and achieve your marketing objectives. Learn more and schedule your consultation at speakwomanmagazine.com. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Speak Woman Podcast. Speak Woman Magazine and Marketing is a platform for women from all walks of life to share their stories. And we invite you to do just that. So go over to speakwomanmagazine.com, check out our latest issue, and learn how you can advertise your brand, your product, your service in our upcoming issue, and how you can be a guest on Speak Woman Podcast. We are doing great things. This is a new season, and I want to include you. So let's connect, speakwomanmagazine.com. Now let's jump right into this episode of Speak Woman Podcast. Hey everybody, I am Shonda Campbell, founder and editor-at-large of Speak Woman Magazine and Marketing. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a great conversation tonight with an awesome woman that I believe is so just walking in the power of God, walking in boldness, walking in confidence to reclaim her child. And I'm just so excited for you all to connect with her, to listen to her, to continue to support her, to connect with her, and really shine a light on what is not right and what needs to be made right, which is ultimately to bring Jason home, to take that baby and place him with his mother. And I'm just excited about this conversation. She is the cover girl for the March 2024 issue of Speak Woman Magazine. And I'm so excited about this interview because it talks just so you learn about her, you learn about all the different sides of her. And I'm just so excited. And I know today has been a busy day for you. And I just appreciate you for taking the time to just pause and connect with us and to share your story on our platform as you continue to globally share your story. So thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. And Michelle Loud, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You have my support just out the gate. I got to say that 1000%. But just tell us, introduce yourself about, and tell us who you are. Tell us about Michelle.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, for believing me and supporting in my fight and in my story and my journey to bring my son home. And yes, I am Michelle Loud. I am a 34-year-old mom of 5 beautiful human beings. I am a licensed cosmetologist. I have been through some things that God has brought me through, and I'm trying to advocate for parental rights and against parental alienation.
Yes. And it is a continued fight. So I want to read just a little bit some of your introduction in this issue as I just began to I saw your live, and we can talk about it a little bit, your initial live, and I really just had to go and just learn, hey, what's going on here, and start to uncover, especially someone who, I love God, I grew up in church and all of that, and I understand how coercion can occur. I can understand power dynamics. So it made me really kind of go back and take a look. So I just want to read a little bit. In this, it says that Michelle catapulted into global into the global spotlight after a heartfelt live. And you talked about what was going on with your son being taken and Cora Jakes. And you talk about how the initial prompting was the uncovering of her husband's sexual allegation against these children. But in this interview, you said that you had been working behind the scenes for a long time, and that was getting you nowhere. And I just want to talk a little bit about before the live, and we uncover all of these things that happened to you and happened to your family and to your babies. What was occurring before that live?
Before that live, it had been 6 or 7 years of me trying to um, basically get my case unsealed, to get a lawyer that would represent me in every which way I would turn. They would either say they would take the case and then disappear, or tell me that there was nothing that they can do to help me. Before that, we had gone to trial twice, one time in 2017 and then again in 2018, where I believe the first time my lawyer and the judge was paid off to throw my case. I had been reaching out to Cora, to the whole family rather, through emails, old phone numbers I had, text messages. At that point, just trying to see my son, because um, you know how you wrestle for so long, you get to a point where if I can just see him, if
Yeah,
I can just communicate with him, if I can just talk to him.
yeah.
So I spent time doing it, but while I was uh, doing that, I began to, well, if I can get help with the lawyer, then I need to start researching the law for myself. I need to start getting myself acquainted with family law and what it means, the law language, the rules, the penal codes, and all that. So I started doing that. And that's how I started gaining knowledge on, what steps I should take, if I should take, till I reached a point where I said, okay, I can't do nothing else without a lawyer. And conveniently, that happened almost at the same time I found out about the allegations. So we're talking like 7 years from 2018 until 2022 of, you know, just trying to do whatever I could behind the scenes. And I was still being ignored. I was still being treated like they didn't have to answer to me, or they didn't have to respond to me. They were still going on and attacking me through sermons. Cora went on a tour with her book Ferocious Warrior and started to tell the story from her side, which we know is a lie. But um, I, at that point, fast forward to when it came out about Brandon, I just had enough. And I wasn't going to keep being quiet because they had me on a gag order, and she made me sign an NDA. And so that kept me from being able to speak out publicly with their names for from 2016 really into 2022.
Wow. Wow. So I asked you that question first for a reason. I definitely want to go back and you to tell us how Cora got your baby in the first place. But I really wanted to highlight, first of all, the machine that you have been going against quietly behind the scenes, and people are like, why is this so hard? It is right, blatantly not right. Why is it so hard? How did this even happen? And why is it taking so long to be corrected? So I wanted to highlight the crusade that you have been going after, that you have been fighting through.
Lawyers, they have weight in the judicial system here in Texas. They use lawyers that go to the church and that's on the member boards to work for them, specifically Faith Johnson, who used to be the former DA in Dallas County. So I wasn't just going up against Cora Jakes and Brandon Coleman. I was going up against Cora Jakes, Brandon Coleman, TD Jakes Ministries, Potter's House Church of Dallas, Texas, TD Jakes Incorporated, Cora Jakes Coleman Ministries, in Texas family law judicial system, because they're in their back pocket. They know the lawyers, they know the judges, they're able to swing their weight, and it's a heavy machine to constantly trying to go out when it's just you.
And I wanted to highlight that. And I have to say, as we're talking about this, and someone looking from the outside in, for me, it is not to bash a name or to go after, or to, we I can say I have no evidence. I don't know. This is all allegedly, all of that. But what I can say is facts are facts. Truth is truth. And there is an issue with power dynamics. And there is an issue within Christians, and then those that profess to love God and those that have grown up in the church. And we look at certain people and we say, no, we can't talk about them, or we cannot talk about things that are being done, or things that we sometimes passively allow. And I get if it's our family and our loved one, but right is right and wrong is wrong. So from the outside looking in, as we're having this conversation, I want us, those of us that are on the outside, that are just hearing this story, that are just connecting with her, it's not about picking one side or the other. For me, it is about saying what is right and what is not right. And there is a power dynamic. And so we have to always keep that in mind as we are having these conversations of uncovering things that are not right, and how when people are wrong, they are going up against a whole system and support. And sometimes they are by themselves. And we have to stand up and say, right is right and wrong is wrong. So with that said, tell me, how did we get here? How did your baby, your beautiful baby, be transferred from your custody to Cora's custody?
Um, Being that I've known Cora since I was 10 or 12, grew up with her, she was my best friend. Um, it's a case of I was going through a lot. I was going through depression, and ended up going through postpartum depression after I had Jason. And my friend, who I thought was my friend, told me that she had me. Told me that she had my back. Told me that she'll be there for me. Told me that she would be there to support me, and told me that she would help me with my son. And I believe that to be true. I was in a very vulnerable state of mind. I was in a vulnerable place, just overall. And she took advantage of that. And she took advantage of that because she cannot have children. She cannot produce children. So she has an obsession with um, getting babies and having babies. And at the time, that was unbeknownst to me, because we did have a 7 year gap in our friendship, and we got reacquainted because I went to the Easter picnic at, that the church had, and we got reacquainted when I was about 7 months pregnant with Jason. And so for that 7 year gap, I didn't know, her dailies, her ins and outs, how her mind has developed or lack thereof. When we reacquainted, I was definitely in a position where I needed help, and I needed real support and real love. And she said then she will be the caller if I need anything. So I go and I have Jason, and she's there at the hospital, seemingly to be this good friend. She identified at the hospital that I had, you know, was in the early stages of postpartum depression. She told me, she alerted the nurse, and she alerted my aunt. Um, so she knew. And I feel like that's when the planning for her started, if not before then. And so I went into it thinking that I had support from a friend, not knowing that the person that I thought was my friend was actually planning to, in somehow, some way, shape, form, take my child for her own. Um, within within a month, she was trying to convince me to um, give my baby up for adoption, or how would I feel about open adoption. And I kind of just, push those things away because I'm just like, what, you know, because at that time, now I'm in survival mode. I'm I just had a baby, but now I'm a single parent of four for the first time. I hadn't been a single parent before then. So now my mind is I have to, provide for my children. And so I just kind of push what she was saying away, like, girl, I don't need to give my baby up. I just need some help or whatever. 2 months into her helping me, she made me sign these papers, where she asked me to sign the papers, and she told me the papers were to be able to take Jason to the doctor, take him to certain things, but I was not able to be present. And I signed it. I did sign it without reading it, and I do take ownership for that. But that doesn't negate the fact that she knew that I was signing it without reading it, because she knew that I trusted her. So it still was coercion, and it still was manipulation, and it still was duress, because I was not in my right mind of thinking. Because if I was in my right mind of thinking, then I would have read what the document actually was. So then we go 2 more months in. So now we're 4 months in, and she brings me another paper. She was like, "Oh, I forgot to put in here for us to be able to take him to the doctor as well." So I said, "Okay, cool." Because when I wasn't able to take him to the doctor, she would take him, or my mother would take him, because I had started working at a warehouse, and I was working 12 to 16-hour shifts. Mind you, I'm the only sole provider for my children now at this point in time. And so I signed it. And each time she brought these documents, either I was having a bad day already, sad and depressed or something like that, or I was in a rush trying to get to work. So it was at times where she knew that, and this is just me looking back on hindsight, right? It was times where she knew that I wouldn't be focused on what I was actually doing, right? So then she goes into, after that, she continues with the whole, you know, giving them up. And then she's going into, uh, God told me that you had Jason for me and my husband. And then she takes it from there till she starts to send me open adoption messages on Facebook, open adoption quotes. At that time, Reels wasn't a thing, so it was videos, and really trying to put into my head and tried to start making me believe that Jason was not put here and put in me to have for me and my children, but for her and her husband and their family. Okay, so when that wasn't working, then she offers me money, and I declined the money. And then I said, "You can't pay me for my child." And I was like, "I just need some help." And then she says, "Well, will his father take the money, and maybe we can just, like, I guess, do away with him?" Is I'm figuring what that hand movement was when she said it. And I said, "No, he's not gonna go for it, Cora. I just need some help." But she didn't take that. So she keeps on with the, "I'm telling you, God gave you that baby for me." And I remember one time coming over there, and this is when I was having a really bad day, because I was trying to find us a place to stay, and I was getting turned down. I was losing deposit money, that you have to put down a deposit or money order, and some of it is non-refundable even if you get denied. So I was losing money, and I was just having a real bad day. And she came to me. We're sitting downstairs in the second living room I'm sitting on the right hand side of the couch. No, she's sitting on the right hand side of the couch, and I'm sitting on the ottoman. And we're talking about stability and what children need. And she brought this conversation to me. And as she's sitting there, she's painting a picture of how I don't have it together, how I don't have a place to stay, how she feels my mother's house is not equipped enough to for children to have a stable environment in. And she paints this picture, and I mean, she paints it very well with all types of metaphors, as they do so very often, to persuade people and bring them into their message. And she was just like, I mean, look around. Wouldn't you want your son to be more stable here and then where he's at, in comparison to my mom's house and hers? And so it was manipulative things like that she would do. And then it got to the point where I was like, I just need to, uh, let her know that this is not something that I want to do. And I'm telling her these things, but it's like it's going in one ear and not the other, because she has her mindset that it doesn't matter what I say, she's gonna find a way to get my child. So the asking me turns to threats. And I remember one day I went to her and I said, well, before they turned to threats, she started doing like other little manipulative things. And then one day I came to her and I said, I'm going through a really rough time. I'm depressed. Some days I can't even get up. I feel like I'm in this dark hole that I can't get out of. And I need some help. I need someone to talk to. She then begins to say that she could help me, that she could counsel me, and that she could do that because she was going through ministry school at the church. And so she'll take out her MacBook and she'll ask me a series of questions and wanted me to answer those questions in front of the MacBook. Now, this is after the threats. This is after her constantly telling me that I didn't have my baby for her. This is after she told me that if I didn't give her my child, that she would take him from me. So at this point, and she's asking me leading on questions, like she's leading me what to say, especially in the video, who is Jason to me, because that was very fresh after she locked me in Brandon's office and pushed me up against the wall and told me that if I didn't give her my baby, that she would take him from me, because I kept telling her that, I didn't want to give him up for adoption.
Okay, that was a lot. And I thank you for sharing the road and what it looks like, because that is what people really need to hear. We all especially, I'm a young mother, and so we've all been at a point where we like, hey, we're struggling. We love our children, but we struggling, and postpartum depression is real, and you are struggling. You're trying to make it through. You love your children. You're trying to work. You're trying to pay the bills. You're trying to get past this, and so you're reaching out for help. And we all know what it's like to, especially if you grew up in church, you know what it's like to go to church and you sit under folk that may very well be anointed and the word is good, and you have admiration for them and you have respect for them and their children. And hey, I'm friends with their daughter, I'm friends with someone who is connected to that kind of power. And so ultimately you feel, hey, this person this person can help me. This is a person I want to grasp to. And so there is that power dynamic that has occurred. And then all along the way, you're seeing the breadcrumbs of, and I love how you talk about the threats, because I was watching an interview and you were talking about an exorcism, and I said that is it's crazy to me that it even happened to you, that somebody even that loved God could even fix their lips and to say, God gave you this child for me, and this mother wants her baby back. She wants to keep her baby. She just wants help. And so all of these power dynamics that you're telling us along the way, leading up to, telling us about the fear, telling us about the anxiety, telling us about the threats, telling us about these people that are saying what God said. And so putting the fear of God into it, and putting all of these spiritual dynamics into it, and you are just really taking them down the road. We would, on the streets, we would call that's what pimps do. They take you and they twist your mind up, and then you don't know up from down. And so along the way, you've been threatened, you're at a low, and then you're at this place. And when was the last time that you even that you even felt like you were in control of the situation? Was that even
I don't even think I was in control at any time.
Wow. So all along the way, you've been on the lower.
Mm-hmm. Up until I realized what was really going on.
Yeah.
Up until I realized what was really going on. And even then I was still on a lower because I was still suffering from depression and postpartum depression. I was still going through it. I was still struggling. Even when we went to court, the manipulation didn't stop with court. It carried on through the court system.
Let's talk about that. What happened? So we talk about what happened with the puppet strings along the way. But when the courts got involved, what does that look like? Because that's really powerful.
When the courts they didn't abide by the law. Court filed the suit of determination of my right suit in September of 2016. But in order for that to have been able to be accurately filed, she would have had to have no contact with me, and I would have had to have no contact with my son for 6 months or more, which was not the case because I had lived with her from January until May or June. So because of that, July, August, September, that's only 3 months. Even if I moved out in May, that's only 4 months. State law is very direct to the point where it has to be 6 months or more. The judge should have automatically threw out the motion off rip. When I responded to the motion and I said this is not what I want, and provided that I lived with her, I hadn't abandoned my child, and I don't want to give up my rights. I want to keep my son was only 2. He wasn't 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. He was literally only 2 years old. So he was still a baby. I told them that. I told them what I had experienced in her house, around her, and I was very clear that I did not want to give my child up, that I wanted to keep my child. They were supposed to throw out that suit, and they were supposed to give me my child, and that is not what they did.
So okay, so I want to pause there. I want to go back for those of us that are not familiar with your case. I want to go back and I want to be clear on some things. You're saying that when your baby was 2 and you went to the court, the first response for you to the court was that you did this was not something that you wanted, and this was when your baby was 2. How long had it been, or had you had a separation from your baby at the age of 2?
I just had baby that weekend. The weekend of her filing the document, my baby was with me. I was never gone from him. Even when I moved out, I still saw him the next month. I still was around. But even if I didn't, let's say 3 months went by, I didn't see him. 4 months went by. State law says 6 months. That's not 6 months. So, she went and filed on the Friday that I went and got him. She either filed the day before or the day of, the morning of. And, that's just a testament to show that she knew what she was doing all along. And you waited. She had me sign the relinquishments of rights on May 21st, 2015. They didn't file it in the court until September of 2016, the same weekend that Jason was going with me. And even when I signed those relinquishments of rights, they had me under the impression that I didn't have rights to my son anymore, which was not true. The only person that can terminate a parent's rights is the courts, it's a judge. So I had complete rights to my son. So I go through court, and when I'm bringing this to the court, they're not acknowledging it. They're not honoring the law. Okay. And then they go further into the whole time I was fighting for Jason for 2 years, from 2016 through 2018. They would not give me access to him. So now what they did was, that's what you call a loophole, because you know that originally she cannot file this documentation. But instead of honoring the law, you allow it to continue to sit on record. And in that time, now you create separation. You create a 2-year separation, giving her ground to be able now to have the record, have the suit or the motion on file, so that now it does have to go to court. Now that it does have to go to trial.
All
And
right.
even in going,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But you're saying some things that I want to highlight, but I want to let you finish your thought. I'm so sorry, dear. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So that's how, and then that's how I ended up going and having to go to court for 2 years, when really the justice system should have given me my child, should have told them, because I filed a motion. I filed a response, and I said, this is not what I want. I wrote a 7-page letter to the judge. I am asking you to tell these people basically to give me back my child. I still have rights to my child. And they took that from me, even while going through court and fighting. My rights were abused, my rights were neglected, and my rights were taken from me, even by the judge of Tarrant County. Okay. So we go through court, we go through the preliminaries. My attorney agrees. My attorney at the time agrees not to talk about TD Jakes, not to talk about the Potter's house, not to talk about the church, Sarita Jakes, or the home. And I was confused to why he did that, when it's a crucial part of my son and where he's been and who's been around him. He's been to the Potter's house. If I have to give testimony, or anybody comes in here and give testimony, we have to be able to mention the Potter's house. We have to be able to mention TD Jakes, because he's been to TD Jakes and Sarita's home. We have to be able to mention finances, because Cora Jakes Coleman and Richard Brandon Coleman worked for TD Jakes. So if you're agreeing that you're not going to mention these things, first of all, that was one. Then before that, he was trying to get me to take just a piece of a potato, when you can't get the whole potato. I'm looking at him like, what are you talking about? Take a piece of potato. This is my child. Why should I have to settle for anything outside of them returning my child? So when I wouldn't take that advice, now we have to go to trial. I asked trial by jury, why are you agreeing to not speaking about the Jakes in the church and everything like that? And when it comes to his opening statement on day one, he opens it with talking about the Potter's house and TD Jakes. So you know what they did, right? The other team immediately jumped up and asked for the case for a mistrial. Immediately. It was planned. Y'all got into cahoots. Y'all knew what y'all were going to do, and y'all executed it very well. So he threw the first trial. Drumsters. He threw the first trial. And it just continued after that. When the second trial came, their lawyer was trying to say it was a continuous trial, and I had to tell the judge, no, When you hit that gavel down, you said you declared it as a mistrial. You didn't declare it as a continuous trial, because they were trying to block me for being able to have my discovery period again, where I can now do the work that my lawyer didn't do. He didn't subpoena anybody. He didn't go get any records. He didn't go get any documents. He didn't subpoena any text messages. He didn't subpoena Meta. He didn't do any of those things. In fact, when it came down to getting my health records, he didn't even go to the hospital where I had Jason. He went to Mary Lee Lewis' office and used the health records that they obtained. So when it came to the second trial, I didn't even get my discovery period. And when I brought that to the judge, they found another loophole where it prevented me from having the time to get a new discovery. So by the time the second trial come, now I'm representing myself in the courtroom with a little bit of knowledge that I've been able to read upon in, let's say, from January to April. From January 2018 into April 2018, and that was a lot, but I was fighting for my.
When you and I appreciate you breaking that down, how the court process went. And one of the things that to zoom out, one of the things that some people have said, or I've heard it when it talks about bringing your son back to you, is talking about, oh, he's, it's been so many years, there's been a separation, and there's all these reasons or roadblocks to him coming back to his mother. But this was on purpose out of the gate. There was never a time when you had a separation, your first response was, give me my child. I'm not, no, I don't want this. That has always been your first response. You had children. This is your fourth baby. There was no police involved, no CPS.
No CPS. And while we was going through court called CPS on me multiple times, trying to prove me unfit. And each case got closed with no evidence found. So she couldn't even use it that way. Like, if I'm unfit for Jason, I'm unfit for them all. That's the thing. If I can't take care of Jason, I can't take care of none of them. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so that was her whole thing, trying to prove me unfit, trying to say that I was a drug addict. Should I say I was a drug addict in court? Yeah, it was a lot.
So all of this, so again, we talk about this happening when your baby is 2, that you be talking about there was never a separation. We talk about there was never any prior issues. And so when we look at the court system, it's supposed to be set up for the betterment of the child, to keep that child. I worked in drug and alcohol, and I've seen some folk that are really messed up, but the whole court, they're going to bend over backwards if they can. If there's no danger to the child, they're going to do what they can to keep that child with that baby. Or if there has to be a separation, then there's a separation until you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have your child back.
Yeah.
So that never happened. Your first response was, no, you can't have my baby. This is my child. And then you go into the court, and we all know how the courts can drag things along. And then there was separation there, because as the courts are putting in this, there was a separation because she had this guardianship over him. So she could tell you, no, you can't see this child. Is that what caused that?
But she lost. No, they just didn't. The judge said that she wouldn't. When I motioned to have while we was going through court visitation with my child, the judge would not make a ruling on it. Said that she couldn't make a ruling on it. So she just flat out didn't make a ruling on it. That's why I say my rights was abused. My rights were abused.
Wow. So during this process of the court, you couldn't, they said, you no, we ain't even gonna answer you yes or no, we're just not gonna respond. And that is what I want to highlight when we have the conversation about systematic. Like that is what is right, or is it wrong? We can look at that fact and say, is it right or is it wrong? So as you're going on this journey, what has it been like to have contact with your baby?
Well, it's the same. It's inconsistent, right? Because she has a need of control and trying to sever any type of bond that me and Jason can have. Um, since 2018 until November of 2022, I had not been able to talk to Jason. I had not been able to speak with him. I had no contact with him, no communication with him. I couldn't tell you what his laugh sounded like or how his voice had matured over time. Um, any characteristics about him. Um, I hadn't seen a picture of him since he was 4 because she had me blocked on all social media. And her parents and her people don't post him. So I didn't know a lot. And in November of 2022, I messaged her. She had posted, I had created a Instagram, and I had went to her page and she had posted him. It was Thanksgiving on her story. And I messaged and I said, you know, I want my son. And then I messaged again and said, Jason, I love you so much. And then she started like messaging me, and then she started playing phone tag, acting like the calls wasn't coming through when really she was picking up the phone and hanging it up, and then started trying to act like it was the signal. And then I was just like, we had a few exchanges of words. Then she put Jason in the conversation while we were exchanging words, which really irritated me and upset me because you know what you're doing. You're already trying to, whatever narrative that you have already given him. Now you're trying to bring confirmation to the narrative by allowing him to be in our conversation, trying to spin the truth to make her lie look like the truth. So the next day I did speak with him, and then after that, it was no communication. I would email. I wouldn't get a response to the emails. I would call. I wouldn't get an answer. And so eventually I did a live, you know, because I'm at the point now, I'm not going to be quiet, because when I'm quiet, y'all think y'all can just walk all over me. And that's not going to happen. So I did a live telling the people of how she, basically allowed me to speak to him and then took that away. So I'll say about January or February of 2023, I get back in contact with Jason. I'm speaking to him. We're talking. May comes. Jason wants us to come to his birthday party. So I'm like, okay, so we'll go. Just ask Cora to send me the information, and we coming. And that turned out to be a whole ordeal. She basically said that I couldn't come, and that if I wanted to see him, that I could throw him my own birthday party for him, in which I did, and in which she did not bring him. And instead, she contacts me the next day, which is Jason's birthday, telling me that I can come to the party that they're throwing for him, which pissed me off because I know what you're doing again. But I had to swallow that because for me, it was more important to see my son and hold my son and smell his neck and look at him than to um, sit in my anger and in my hurt. And so I did. I went, and he didn't even want me to leave. So from May to June, we conversated. Well, June, the whole month of June, wasn't able to talk to him because she said that his iPad was broken. And which I responded, and I said, well, I would send the money to get it fixed because I need to talk to him. I need to have some communication with him. Now his siblings are talking to him on a regular basis and playing Roblox with him every day. So now they're reforming their bond, with him, and then you take it away, right? So then July gets here. It's time for Cree's birthday. So I'm talking to him like, yes, son, Cree's birthday is coming up. We want you to come to Cree's birthday party. And that was the last time I talked to him, was in July of 2023. And ever since then, when I call, she doesn't answer, she doesn't respond. But this is a pattern that she's been doing. Even before court. This has been a pattern that she's been doing. When I signed those relinquishments of rights paper, I was no longer able to see him when I wanted to see him up until the time I moved in. So, and then when I moved out, she went back to it. She went back to not answering the phone all the time, or when I come over to see them, not answering the door even though they're there, or having people at the door, Jalecia and Rachel, not allowing me to come in. It was times where I had to leave food, diapers, wipes, clothes, toys on the porch because you're not opening the door. So what she does is try to paint the picture that I'm inconsistent, and that's an excuse that she also used. Oh, you're inconsistent. Well, how can I be consistent when you're always taking him in and out of my life at your leisure, because the courts did not honor the law and gave you custody of my child.
Okay, so that along the way, I want to really highlight that uh to me that there is, from what you just said, still some manipulation going on. There's still some playing with your emotions going on. There's still some, playing with your feelings. And at the end of the day, you a mother, and so like you say, you just want to know your baby okay. But I really want us to pay attention to number one, that this happened. There was never a time where this child should have been taken out of your custody in the first place. This happened all along the way.
Right.
And if you take accountability and say, hey, I signed this paperwork and I didn't know what it meant, but it relinquished guardianship to someone else. When you go to court and you tell them that, and you say, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I didn't understand. There's a process that you need to go through. If the courts need to make sure you're safe and make sure the baby is safe and make sure there's no other issues, which there, as you stated, there were not. So there should have been an immediate corrective action to take that baby back to his mother. But along the way, there's been purposeful separation so that they can use separation for you to continue to be separated from your baby.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. And all along the way, you talked about the siblings. Tell me about how your other children are doing, and I know this has got to be just heart wrenching for them as well.
Absolutely. We all have our days. One thing I can say is they will not let you forget their brother Jason in anything, be it prayer time in the morning, prayer time before we go to bed, if we're out and I'm getting them something, if they're talking to strangers or talking to anybody, and they are asked, well, how many siblings do you have, and they'll just start naming them off, and they're not going to let you forget Jason. And sometimes and I just be like, even with me, I'm like, you ain't gotta remind me about Jason. I know, but they really love their brother. They really miss their brother. Some days are good, some days are sad. Some days I'm having to wipe tears because they're still young, so they understand a little bit, but they don't really fully understand. And I think that's the bigger part of it. It's like it's the effect that it has on the other children, and how she tries to justify, Amari. And I get that she's an adopted sister, but she's not a blood sister. We're talking about his lineage, his legacy, essentially, what makes him him, right? And to not only try to sever the bond between me and him, but to also be so selfish to do that to his brothers and his sisters. And it's a hard thing to deal with. It's a hard deal with sometimes when you walk in your daughter's room and she's crying, and you're trying to figure out why she's crying, and it's because she's having a bad day because she missed her brother. Or when you allow them to speak to him again and play with him again, and now they're having temper tantrums and even sometimes getting into each other, and then when you get down to the root of it, it's because they can't speak to Jason. Or when you look at your kid's phone and you see how many times they have messaged their brother or sent game requests to their brother, and or when you notice that you walking in and your son is just having this sad face and he just says, "Mommy, I really miss Jason." Like, it's times like those where it makes it more difficult to deal with and go through, because it affects them, and it affects them in different ways. My oldest child is a introverted person, so she doesn't always allow her emotions to show, and it's because she likes to try to have control over her emotions, but it gets to her too. So I think, it's just selfish. It's selfish, it's wrong, and they're hurting as well. And I
Mm.
have to pick their faces up. I have to tell them that it's going to be okay, and then I'm gonna keep fighting. And when they hurt, I hurt, and it's like a nightmare that you're not waking up from.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You tell your story so well, and I'm a mother, and so when I saw your video, that was the first time that I'd ever seen your face, and I saw that video, and I'm just my heart is just with you and crying, and I'm like, I get the frustration, I get the rage, I get the every way that you express how you feeling, because as a mother, there's nothing in the world that I would not do for my children. And I know and I feel that when I hear you talk, when I see your lives, when I see you, on your video, when I see you with a smile on your face, I know that's a smile on top of a whole lot of pain,
On
because
top
there's,
of
ooh, 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 and every day you continue to get up.
I have
Every
to.
day.
I have to. I don't
Wow.
get a choice. I have other children in the home, and if I allow myself to sit in it, then I'm never gonna move, and I gotta keep moving for my baby. I gotta keep fighting for him. I would never give up, because he's mine. He's from me. He's my blood. He's my legacy. He's my DNA, and God gave him to me. That's why God gave him to me to birth into this world, because He thought enough of me. He wasn't discouraged in me, and He had already applied in me what I needed to be a mother to the children that He gave to me, regardless of my current situation or regardless of my current circumstances. That was temporary, it wasn't permanent, because now I'm doing good and have been doing good for the past 5-6 years. I took us from homelessness to living in the projects, and now we're in a 4-bedroom house. So she turned something that was temporary for me, because God would never leave you nor forsake you. It don't matter which way you choose, because God gives us free will. God has the path that He wants us to walk, and then it's the path that you can choose to walk, because He gives you free will. But no matter the path you choose, when you were called, when you were set apart, when you were favored, when you were chosen, when you were anointed, when you've given a gift, and even without it, God said that He would never leave His children nor forsake His children. So, for me, it's like you took a current situation and you tried to make it permanent. And for so long, it has looked permanent to me up until May 18th, 2022, when I said enough was enough. And I'm no longer silent, and I'm no longer going to fight this giant or this Goliath silently. So
Wow.
I
Wow. Woo.
I
Mm,
have
mm,
to keep.
mm.
I
Yeah.
didn't care about a gag order. I didn't care about an NDA at that point in time, because it's like If I don't do it, my son would never know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't live with that. And then the type of allegations that they were, I couldn't. I was so scared for my child,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it was. Just like something came. It was like a breaking that day. That day was a breaking for me, almost a breakthrough. In a sense, because 7 years is a long time to hold something like this in and not being able to release it. 7 years is a long time for agony, for pain, for hurt, for trauma, for depression. 7 years is a long time of being having to keep quiet about being done wrong to, and your child being taken from you. 7 years is a long time not to even be able to speak to your child or see your child. It almost feels like a death, but your child is still living. But
Yeah.
you can't get to him. You can't talk to him. You can't speak to him. You're being blocked every which way. You're being ignored every which way. You're reaching out and nobody wants to help you because of who he's with. 7 years is a long time for that. And on that day, those 3 videos, I believe I finally started allowing God to minister to me. And I started to uh it helped me release anger that I felt even towards God. Um, sorry.
My God. Mm.
Saying to him, God, these are supposed to be your servants,
Mm-hmm.
right? These are supposed to be people that serve you and honor you.
Mm.
These are supposed to be my examples of of you. And how can these be examples of you if they done this to me?
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of turmoil with my walk and a lot of angriness. And that day, I didn't know that it was going to happen on that day. I didn't know that I was going to get on live. I didn't know any of those things. I just knew that when that news hit, I said I couldn't take. It was like the breaking the back of the camel. I couldn't take it anymore, and I had to say something. And because I also knew that it was other women like me, and it was other women that she had done this to, and that if I could just speak, then maybe I could get the help that I need. Because I think that has been their goal this whole time, hushing me so that I wouldn't get the help that I need, so that they can keep going on how they've been going on.
Wow. And there has to be um a continued just sound off from everybody who hears this story. I don't know how someone could just listen to you. I mean, even right now, just pouring out the emotion, just pouring out your dedication to righting what is wrong. This is a mother who should have never, in my opinion, should have never been separated from her child at all. And imagine, just those years. Imagine if it was you being away from your child and you didn't know how your child was doing. You didn't know how your child was, how the sound of his laugh, like all of those journeys. We have to understand that she is us. She is us at any moment for a system to come along and snatch all your rights away. Again, this is not about a person. We talking about right and wrong. You heard Michelle. You heard what she has to say. Do you believe that that child should have ever been taken from her mother? Do you believe that the separation that has occurred is justified? There is no evidence or reason that there has should have been a separation. If you want a child, there are other ways for you to get a child. There are other children who need a family. There are other children. And even those that came along and co-signed it, those of us that are in church, those of us that love God, we might have heard a sermon and it blessed us. Okay, bless you. That blessed me. But right is right and wrong is wrong, because there are people that came along and co-signed. You're talking about the exorcism for other folks that said, you need to give your baby up and give them to this person. Anybody who
Yeah.
loves God, like, I can see where the struggle of okay, God, for real, because anybody who loves God, you can fix your tongue and look at a mother and say, God said you need to give this child that you want, that you love, and that you adore, and give it to somebody else. That makes no sense. How?
Right.
How, Sway? Make it make sense. So when we're listening to you, I'm highlighting everything. Right is right and wrong is wrong. There is no way that your baby should have ever been taken from you. So tell us now, how can we continue to support what you're doing? How can we continue to stay behind you? And what does the fight look like now?
The fight looks like now we are help is on the way. And now I just need people to, I have a book called Dare to Stand on Amazon.com. The proceeds from that goes towards the legal fight and resources for Bring Jason Home. I have a website, themicheleloud.org, where I share with people where they can get on to know more about my story, more about my fight. Also, a documentary series, and the links are posted on there. If they want an ebook, they can go there. We also have merch, Bring Jason Home merch. And I'm saying this because donations is what we need at this point. And people have many ways that they can donate. I know that not everybody has financial or in some life is life, and you know what I mean, so you can't donate, but I don't want you to get discouraged and thinking you can only donate through financial means. You can donate through liking the story, you can donate through sharing the story, you can donate through telling somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody. You can donate that way. If you know somebody that is able to donate, hey, can you give a donation in my name this to this fund? So we do have a GoFundMe, or you can donate through Love and the First with Cash App. And just, just spread the word and really, read the story and understand it, and know that it's not just me. It's many other women like me that have been taken advantage of, whose rights have been abused and not fully given to them or honored in the court system. And so that's what we're doing now. God is stirring the pot, is what I will say, or what I can say. And when he gets done stirring, um I'm gonna have my baby.
listen, and we're gonna be rejoicing with you. All of us, we're gonna be rejoicing with you, because I believe God. I believe God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do know that all things are possible. And I know it's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we definitely will stay connected. We definitely will stay supporting you. I think all these intricate details and layers are important. But at the end of the day, y'all, we got to use our common sense, because folk love to come in with other questions. And what about this? And what about that? And what are we talking about? A mother that should have never been separated from her child. So all the if, ands, and the buts and the surroundings, right is right and wrong is wrong. and God can correct it in a blink of an eye. So I can't wait to hear the celebration. I will definitely be continuing to support you, even sharing on your platforms, even talking about it, continuing to get the word out, and continuing to say your name, continuing to say Jason's name, continuing to say all your babies' names, and let you know that you are not forgotten. You know, I know that when you open your mouth, it's like, okay, God, you reached that breaking point. But it's like, okay, everybody on my end, we heard the hooty hoo. And I said, wait a minute, we have to say something, because if you a mother, if you love a child, like I can't understand how you can be a mother. I'm a mother. I can't understand how you can be a mother and hear what has happened to you and not stand up and say it's wrong. So I appreciate you for your boldness. I appreciate you for your continue to move forward. And girl, you look good on all your interviews, on all your posts. I need you to continue to slay. You hear me? Continue to look good, because folk want you to be walking around. No, you a warrior and you're beautiful.
That's right, Miss Shonda. You can't look like what you've been through.
No, because you listen, you're gonna come out not smelling like smoke, because you are definitely walking through the fire, and God is a protector. And so, you know, other folk, you know, we can't idolize folks, y'all. We can't put folk in all. We gotta call stuff out, because that's what true love is. True love is walking alongside and saying, no, that's wrong, and not allowing somebody that you care about to even get in this position. There is something that we can do along the way. So let's not enable the wrong, but let's call out the right. And so I thank you so much, Michelle Dow. Listen, check her out, CoverGirl, SpeakWomanMagazine.com. This is a great conversation. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. Any final words? We love you, Michelle.
Final words. Stay true to yourself and always trust God. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Find your voice and stand on it and speak up. The most powerful thing that you can do is speak, and do that without restraint. I found my voice when I started speaking, and I feel like it saved me in a lot of ways. And that's just what I would say to anybody. Stay true to yourself and speak up for yourself. Don't let nobody try to bring you down, manipulate you. Have a strong mind, have a strong will, have a strong heart. Always walk with God, because as long as you're walking beside him, and as long as you're walking with him, he's going to have your back 10 times fold. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. So hold fast to your faith. Hold steadfast to your faith. To the parents or to the mothers or even some fathers that have gone through or are experiencing what I've been through, stay strong. Keep your head on the swivel. Keep your head in the fight. And no matter what, don't give up. Don't let nobody back you into a corner. Don't let them or the justice system try to tell you what can't be done or what can be done, because God is your warrior. God is the one who is fighting for you. And if God is the one who is fighting for you, there is nothing that he can't do. And you have to stand on that and know that. And thank you to all my supporters. Thank you to everybody that has donated. Thank you to everybody that has shared my story. Thank you to everybody who has uplifted my voice and sound the alarm of bringing Jason home. I appreciate it. My children appreciate it. My family appreciate it. And we're going forward. So just keep watching.
Yes, we're going to keep watching, girl. All your lives, all your updates on Instagram, on Facebook. We watching and we are supporting you. Thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. Wise words from our cover girl, Speak Woman cover girl. Thank you so much for your time. We are going to see you guys on the next episode of Speak Woman. Listen, this is why we here. We tell stories of women just like Michelle. Her story matters. Her voice matters. We all have a story. So make sure you connect with us, SpeakWomanMagazine.com. See you next time on Speak Woman Podcast. Are you ready to connect with a global audience? Advertise with Speak Woman Magazine and Marketing. Our team helps build brand awareness, drive sales, and achieve your marketing objectives. Learn more and schedule your consultation at speakwomanmagazine.com.